Okay, cool. Let's get going. Today, we're going to pick up where we left off, which was getting this guy moving around, which pretty much works. There's still some weird stuff going on with the angling for the line traces. I haven't fixed that yet. Maybe I will fix it. Maybe it ends up not actually being like a problem at all, and I won't fix it. I'll have to see in a little bit more like practical scenarios how that's going to end up working out for us. Today, what we're going to do is I'm going to first get his cannon turning toward the player when it's within a certain radius. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but we will. And then when it is within a certain angle of looking at the player, it will start doing like firing abilities stuff in one way or another. I haven't really thought this through yet. I mostly am worried about getting him to rotate toward the player. So let's get that started. We're just going to do this in tick for the time being. We'll move this somewhere else at some point. But for now, I kind of want to see if we get a skeletal mesh. Can we just like set like bone rotation or something like that? Or do we have to do that in the animation blueprint? I'm sorry if it's a little loud outside today. I have my window open because it's very warm in here. Because I've been working all day and my GPU has been blasting hot air into my room. And that kind of warms things up a little bit. So Unreal, rotate, bone, blueprints. Let's see. Set bone rotation by name. Set bone. That doesn't seem like it exists anymore. This is a post from 2015, so that makes sense. I'm guessing we have to modify the transform for the bone. So what we do instead, I guess, is we what do we do instead? That's a fantastic question. I guess we do cannon rotation as a variable. That we do anyway. I'm just thinking, should we make this a vector, a rotator, or just a float? I'm gonna go with a rotator because why wouldn't I, realistically speaking? And then in tick, I guess what we do is we just set this to a make rotator, and the only thing that we're gonna do is set the yaw. We're going to set the yaw to get look or find look at rotation between get actor location and then get actor location for the player character. So get player character. Then we split that as well and we do that. So that should get us a variable every single frame. That gets us the cannon's desired location. So maybe call it something like desired cannon rotation. Yes. And then I think we should do this from the animation blueprints, potentially. Because we can set the transform for a bone specifically. Modify bone? No, that doesn't exist anymore either. Oh, that's kind of fucked, isn't it? Transform bone. This isn't the Unreal 5.5 documentation, so presumably it should exist. But it's just Oh, we need to get the component for the bone first. Okay, so how do we do that? Unreal and then ep get bone. Anyway, convert spaces. I don't think I want that. So we have this, right? We have the component. So how do we get that specific bone from this pose? I mean, we're going to need to like add this together in some way, like apply additive. Then component back to local, that makes sense. Layered blend per bone. Thanks. There we go. So then we take this as the base pose, I guess. It's the usual method with a bone depth. So then how do we... Like, how do we at that point apply which... We'll get back to this in a moment. I guess we have to like local motion. Have to use that for both of these, right? Okay. Yeah, so the cache pose. Okay, but how do I get the specific bone that I'm looking for is the next question, right? Because we have blend mode, like trying to figure this out as we go. Okay, bone name and then blend depth. So what did I name this bone? Is the next question. Probably something like cannon, if I had to guess. Yes, cannon 1. Copy bone name. And then I'm guessing the blend depth is not inclusive, so just keeping it at 0 should be all that I need. Local to component, I guess that's fine. And then the rotation is... We don't really need that, I guess. You just need that to be a... Fuck! What the hell? Okay, let's restart. I don't know what the hell happened there. I'm guessing that node, because it's blending, expects always at least 2 things in there. It's kind of weird that you'd have to use a blending node to just filter on a bone. So maybe I was just using the wrong node. Skip restore, we can just redo that. I don't fuck with animation blueprints that much. So every time I open them up, I have to like rediscover a bunch of shit, which is kind of annoying, but here we are. This is the only part that I'm going to be like a little tricky on, and then everything else should be relatively self-explanatory. Hopefully. We'll make that variable again in a moment. First I want to that's the wrong one. Layered blend per bone. Nope. This one, please. The bone name. Layered blend per bone has the dynamic number of blend bones that it can blend per different bone sets. That's fantastic. But I guess we just kind of, if it needs to have two, I guess it doesn't need to have two because it was just a note. It didn't like give me an error or anything, so it's probably fine. Make sure the bone depth is more than 1. Wouldn't that, I mean, we'll figure it out in a moment if anything goes wrong, but wouldn't the bone depth be any bones on top of the one that we name? Or would it be like inclusive and need to be 1? Because we only need to rotate the 1 bone. Then again, I guess this thing doesn't have any like child bones anyway, so there's nothing that can like horribly go wrong, I think. Let me check that. Yeah, it's only got like the end. Oh, maybe it needs to like rotate the end with it. That kind of makes sense. I don't know if that actually makes sense. I'm just pretending like it does. Never do math in your animation graph. Turn on warn about blueprint usage in class settings. But I'm not doing math in here, so... Unless this is what you're referring to here, is velocity is almost 0, in which case I technically maybe should be doing that in the event graph, but I don't actually care about that. Ideally, you want thread safety property access variables. With gas you can easily I'm just trying to like make the cannon rotate, man. Everything else is going to be done outside of here anyway. I just need the cannon to like rotate. That's the first step, and then we'll worry about the rest when we come to that eventually. Just need something to set up so that I can rotate that 1 bone. So this now gives me a warning. Must pick bone to modify, so I guess this does need to be maybe 2. Oh, hold on, bone to modify. I'm an idiot. But the thing just has a bone to modify. Jesus Christ. Okay, That still needs to have the locomotion cached pose though. At this point, we have another warning. No components modify selected, either rotation. Yeah, we're working on that. We're working on that. For now, that's going to be not an event dispatcher. Why the fuck would I make an event dispatcher? Desired cannon rotation. Which we're just gonna set up like quick and dirty like this. We'll move this into like a state tree task in a moment. For now, I just want this to always run for like testing purposes. Two of those. Now one cat player character. That should probably like become cat target. But worry about that in a moment. And then we just desired location, and we promote that to a variable here as well. Don't know why I have two things for velocity, but sure. Okay, ideally this should now probably... Where did he go? Why is my dude still not there? No components, modify selected, translation. Oh, hold on. Do we need to... Rotation, replace. I want to say. Okay, so that's the warning gone. But we have another issue. My dude's gone. Oh, he's just huge. Huh. So why did that happen? I feel like it has to do with this. Yeah, so maybe that's not exactly... I don't think we even need to like apply additive like this. I think we can literally just hook this up like directly. Simplifies it a little bit. Okay, we have the issue that these things aren't like 100% there yet, but that's, I guess, just like roll needs to be updated by like 90. Maybe pitch. I always get these mixed up, it's annoying. I guess it's not actually, yeah, no, that makes sense. This is just 0, 0, 0 now, right? So maybe it should be additive instead. Hold on. Instead of replacing. Maybe that makes things a little easier. Let's see. In theory, that should... Hold on, one moment. Need to hook up my controller. Because I, for some reason, decided to throw out all my keyboard mappings. Mostly to force myself to actually use the controller while like playing. But yeah, no, this works. Fantastic. Now, obviously, it needs to like actually have like an interpolation speed. so that it can't do like wacky stuff like that. And then it needs to check whether or not we're within a certain range and so on and so forth. But yeah, that just works. So now the question, is there an easy way to get a certain bone's like component space rotation? Do you use visual scripting? I mean, yeah. I do use Blueprint for some stuff, use C++ for some stuff. I kind of go back and forth. I tend to use Blueprint a lot for things that we do on stream as well, because some people kind of get lost if it's just like a wall of code on video. And over the last couple of months, a lot of the things that we've been doing on stream have been like fairly implementation based, not so much like system based. Which is where Blueprint really shines usually. Although I believe it's technically better practice to do animation instance like code in C++ because there's like a significant difference in performance. I don't like doing that. So now, can we like get bone rotation or something along those lines? Is that a thing that we can do? Get socket rotation, I guess, but that's it, like, in what space is that? I guess that would be in its like component space, presumably. Oh, but this is in world space, isn't it? Is it? I guess in this case that would be the same thing, so it wouldn't actually like matter, because this thing never rotates. So it's kind of okay to do that, maybe. Okay, I copied something else in between. Let's just give it a shot and see if that does what it should do. Rinterp 2 delta times speed. I always get this mixed up. It's like 15. Well, you don't do the animation in C++. It's just like all of the like pre-setup stuff. Everything in like the event graph of the animation blueprint. I think what they tell you to do is best practice is make an animation instance C++ class to set up all of this code, so that you can then use that to like script out like all of this stuff. The actual animation graph, definitely like not C++, of course. This stuff apparently performs significantly better through C++. But I also don't think it's like that big a deal. I mean, again, as I've said a billion times in the past, there's plenty of games, especially like small games, small solo people, that make entire games in just Blueprint. So, yeah, does C++ like compile directly into machine code? Does it skip some like reflection stuff, which does like take some computing power. Yeah, obviously. Does that actually matter for the most part? No. Unless you're doing like super specific things where you're like doing a blueprint function call in like a loop that iterates a lot, because every blueprint function call adds a static amount of like extra time, which is I think like 0.2 milliseconds or something like that. So if you're doing that like a million times in a loop, a million times is a lot anyway, like that stacks up. But that's like practically never something you actually do. So it's mostly theoretical. Until it's not. At which point, you know. Anyway, let's see if this makes any difference, or if this is going to absolutely make this thing freak the fuck out, because it just might. Well, it does. Do you have any tips on making a game? I mean, that's a very broad question. Just like, don't aim too big, because whatever scale you have in mind, as you work on it, it's going to double, quadruple, 10x, and it's going to end up being too big, most likely. So like, right from the start, temper your expectation as far as like scale goes. And if it's the first time you're making anything, be prepared for it to not be finished, because most people don't finish their first projects, or their second, or their fifth, or their 10th. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. At some point, you have learned so much from doing projects that you look back at stuff you've done within that same project, like a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, okay, but what I did like 2-3 weeks ago was dumb. Congratulations, you've learned. Well, at that point, you can either like restart the same project, or you can move on to a new project. But essentially, like, moving on with that same project is, if it will require you to like redo everything anyway, it makes sense to like get tired of certain projects. So also, like, don't bite too deep into like any particular project. If you're just getting started, just like abandoning projects for the sake of exploration and learning is fine. We've been talking about this in the Discord, actually, and I've been meaning to make a video about this, and it's kind of like the central theme for the game jam that I decided I'll be hosting in about a month. Is don't try to avoid failure, because you're gonna fail. Accept that you're gonna fail at what you try to do at first, and try to set yourself up to fail in the most productive way possible. Which means fail at a small project so that you can actually take lessons out of it, and more lessons than just I got overwhelmed, because while that itself is a valuable lesson as well, if you run into problems at a somewhat smaller scale, you're going to like learn more lessons. So that's kind of the idea behind the game jam. There's community posts on the channel. I'll make a video about it like sometime next week, hopefully. And the idea behind the game jam that I will be hosting is I want to encourage people to do things that are stupid, things that are likely to not work, but that they might have like had in their mind, like, hey, maybe what if I make a I don't know. Like narrative clicker game. Just like two things that do not work together in my mind. That's a stupid idea, right? Do it. Because doing that is going to teach you things about game design and specific things about clicker games and narrative-based games and why they don't work together. And you're gonna like have that put into practice, and you'll have like actual experience instead of just like abstract knowledge to work off of. Obviously, anybody who wants to just make a normal game is welcome to join the game jam as well. But the idea behind it is, I want people to do stupid shit. That's what I mean with set yourself up to fail in productive ways. Because if you're gonna fail, you might as well try to like learn from it. And you're gonna fail. So okay, what were we doing? My attention span is terrible at the moment. So get socket rotation is definitely like not working. Unreal get bone rotation. Okay, but that's a little annoying because this gets that should just I guess maybe what we want to do is we want to split this just in case. But I think the issue is its like own. I mean, it's certainly doing something. 15 is also apparently just way too fast of an interrupt speed, so let's like lower that to 1. Yeah, that doesn't really make a difference, does it? Let's use the constant variant. Which is probably better for this anyway. To be like 1000% real with you. Yeah, no, it's just kind of like fucking up. Is there any way to get bone transform? I guess we can just translation space. We can set it to world space instead for this. Because I'm assuming that's what's going wrong. I'm assuming this thing returns world space and this whatever we were doing was in the component's like own local space, and that's like creating a mismatch. It's still fucking up. I wonder why that is. Well, I can tell you one thing. I can tell you that we can just print string both of these. And then let's make the duration just delta sign. Okay, so this top one is the look at rotation, and then that bottom one is the I don't. Holy hell, that's loud. I don't know why it's doing that. Like, obviously, let's just put this back in here for a second. Hold on, something isn't adding up. Because those yawls should be the same. But they're not. They are actually 90 degrees offset. Okay. Okay. So what if we just do this plus 90? The rotator should make that work, I think. Now they're equal. So, moment of truth. Going back to this, it should stop freaking out, right? It stopped freaking out, and now it's interpolating with a very slow speed. But it works, so we can just up the speed a little bit. Set this to something like, I don't know, a little over 2 times as fast. Seems fair? That seems pretty fair. You can quite easily like escape it this way. But it can also like keep track of us quite well. Maybe a little more still. The birds are starting to make noise right outside my window because of course they are. Hopefully you guys enjoy bird sounds, because I know that I get annoyed by them when they show up in recordings, but might just be a me thing. I think 55 is pretty good for now. So yeah, we need to move that into a state tree task. So let's do that. Get rid of these. I will need to replace a couple of things in a moment for the state tree, but okay, state tree. New task. Blueprint base. In the AI folder, state tree task, tank, cannon, rotation. And this just needs to happen on tick. Well, as long as we're in this state, we just need to be rotating toward the player. So just take this, make a variable for the context actor though, which will be our BP. I don't know why I called it a block tank. Category will be context. Put all that in there, and then we'll get the mesh from this. Actors location delta time goes into there, and that should pretty much, well, set desired cannon rotation should be done through this instead. And that should be everything there is to it. So now if we put that on the aggressive states as a task, so tank cannon rotation. I'm just going to do this on tick. Transition to aggressive. Do we have like a distance? I remember this crashing stuff. I don't remember the exact details, but I think I remember this causing crashes. So maybe we should like not do that. Yeah, I think I have like an evaluator for this, right? Get distance to target. Yeah, let's just do this as a float compare. So let's say if this is less than, I don't know, 1,000, let's say 1,500 units. We do that on tick. It's not like fantastic, but sure. We go to aggressive, and then I guess aggressive we change this to being a float compare, where we check if this has now become greater. Oh, we need to like give in the left thing as well. Hold on. Oh, we need to do a couple of things. Distance. Don't think we set that up here either, did we? Wait, what? Oh, that's an active. Oh, that's the wrong state. That's the wrong state. Abort! Abort! Needs to be on this one. So can see player. We replace that with just a simple float compare. I think I said 1,500, right? The birds are kind of distracting me. Like, not kidding. So if this is less than 1,500, we move to aggressive. And then we also check whether or not it's attacking at the time. I don't think we really need to do that here. So we can just delete that. On state completed, we go... I mean, I don't think the state ever technically completes. So we can probably get rid of that as well. So just from passive, you can go to aggressive. This, to be fair, I wanted to keep moving no matter what. This thing should always be just like randomly moving about. So what we probably should do is change the move task a little bit to incorporate the weight. And then have the move task on whenever it's active. So let's set a range. I think we had at like 1,200 or something, maybe. Now let's change up the move task a little bit, because when we are here, instead of finishing the task, what we'll do is we'll just restart find location. Well, we'll delay actually. Between like 2.5 and 4 seconds. And then we'll restart find location, which effectively just restarts the entire thing from like end of state, right? So that should make the patrol behavior entirely... This is a fucking mess. It's so messy. Oh well. So yeah, it only ever stops doing this once we get to like enemy death, which is fine. And then passive doesn't really do anything aside from waiting to go to aggressive, and then within aggressive we'll have some stuff for doing some like abilities. It's probably just going to be a trigger random ability between like 3 different abilities, and then wait, and then go back to aggressive so that it loops around until it exits aggressive again. remarkably simple AI. But I want this thing to be like very robotic and very kind of static in a way. So that makes sense. Anyway, get target distance thing greater than, let's say, 2000. And if it's not currently attacking, we do that on tick, so that makes sense. So now it should only be rotating towards us if it's within this state, and otherwise it should theoretically just keep its most recent rotation, I want to say. But before anything crashes, I do want to just save the project as a whole. So yeah, right now it doesn't have a rotation, but now it starts rotating toward me, but then when I leave, it just keeps at the most recent rotation. Then when I enter its range, it starts rotating toward me. That's good. That's good stuff. Its range is going to need to be a fair bit bigger. So let's say instead like 3,000 and 4,000. So yeah, now I'm within its range, and it takes like quite a while before I'm outside its range, but eventually I should be outside. And then when I enter it again, it starts, yeah, okay. So it's like doing the thing. Wait, did I rotate him? I think I rotated him by hitting him. He should not get knocked back. Yeah, that's an issue. The moment this actor gets rotated, he breaks, which is like maybe a problem. Maybe. Oh. I think I have a setting here for knockback, right? Can knockback? No. And I think when that is set to false, it doesn't like do any knockback stuff. Why is all the shaders being weird? All the shaders are being like super weird. Huh, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, now what do we do next? What we do next is very slowly saying words so that I can add a socket. Bomb location. Just needed to come up with a name for it. So this is where he's going to be like shooting his projectiles from. I've seen people use entire like scene components for this. I've done that in the past. Totally unnecessary. You can just use sockets. Also not that big a deal, but I guess technically speaking, a component has a lot more. Well, comparatively a lot more overhead than a socket. A socket is just a transform, and that's kind of everything it has. It has a transform and a name. I'm pretty sure it's got nothing more than that. We could try to find out if we wanted to, but I don't want to. So, while scene component also like has some other overhead, but it's like a matter of a couple of bytes probably. Well, a couple 100 bytes probably per instance. So it adds up. It's not that important, but it adds up. So, don't really have any idea for abilities for this guy, aside from just shooting. So I guess that's what we're going to be doing, mostly. Just kind of like shooting. And we'll go from there. So let's make gameplay ability. Gameplay ability. Cost gameplay ability. Well, no, it doesn't need to have a cost actually. Just. Don't we already have a projectile gameplay ability? Pretty sure I do. Yeah, basic projectile. How does that one work again? Oh, it works based on animation. I don't really want to make an animation for this one, though. Maybe I do want to make an animation. Let's make an animation. It's going to be super easy and quick. Somewhere in here I have animations. There we go. And we'll just call this tank fire. I don't know that this is going to be super easy to do. Yeah, no, I think we actually might, if we want to animate this, because the issue that I'm facing is I am rotating the cannon. And I could, but I don't really want to, hold on a moment, to add a FK controller real quick. Why do I not have the things? Well, I don't really want to just like... Oh, it's this one. That makes sense. I don't want to just move this, right? If I did that, that would be fine, but that looks weird. Like that's... No, don't want to do that. What I would want to do is I would want to animate the body as a whole. But I need to animate the body in the same direction that the cannon is facing at any given time. But an animation can't be aware of that. So I need to do that through code. Unless I can somehow animate the body in the cannon's space. Is that a thing I could do? That might be a thing that I can do. But I might need to set that up in a custom control rig, in which case I would rather just do this through a timeline and blueprint. Yeah, this is way too specific to find any good Google results for probably. Yeah, let's just do it through Blueprint, which means that it's going to be its entire own ability, which means that I don't actually need to worry about anything, which is kind of freeing in a way. So let's just make it a gameplay ability. gameplay ability, tank, shot, basic. I don't know if we're going to have a non-basic version, but there's no but. It's just that. So we get avatar actor, cast to block tank, get mesh, get socket transform. Let's do world. And then we bomb location. Spawn actor from class. We have like a base bullet. It's the wrong one. I want a projectile. Oh my god. So many things called projectile. Spider projectile, that's the one that I was looking for. And then again, I guess the instigator is this, because the projectile needs to know that for dealing damage, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's about everything there is to it, I think. So we can effectively like end ability immediately after that. If we want to animate something, we would of course do it in here. But for now, I just want this to be the thing that we do. So let's get back in here. Add a child state. And this is look for target. It's going to be its own task. SCT tank rotate, wait for lock on to target. That's, I don't know if that's a great name, but it's going to be the name we go with. And this is just a tick. I guess we have the context actor BD. Block tank. While I do all this, is anybody like working on something fun that they want to share? As in talk about, not as in I'm going to play it right now, because I've got plenty of shit to do here. But still, I'm curious to like hear what you guys are working on. Get desired, get rotation. And then I guess we get the, or find look at rotation. That's not what we, oh, but that's interesting. When you put an actor into a vector, it should just automatically get actor location. Matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do over the weekend? I'm going to look into if it's easy to like make any of these like automatic add in these blueprint nodes functions. Because it would be really nice to just have like a tiny little plugin that just takes actors and automatically gets this node for them. Maybe somebody's already made that, actually. Unreal automatic get actor location when putting actor onto vector. Let's see. Let's see. I've been a huge fan for writing clear blueprint code. Here's how this works. How to make a custom struct with some data. Yeah, I know. Then create your blueprint function library with the conversion code. I mean, this is a custom struct that they're doing it with. They made a tutorial about it, so that's kind of nice. I'm getting super sidetracked right now. Let's see if ChatGPT has anything to say. In Unreal, I want to make something that'll automatically put a get actor location node in for me when I drag a actor ref bin into a vector bin. Can I do something like that? Customizing the blueprint graph schema. The automated and robust option is to modify the K2 handling logic in C++. That's what I was looking for. So Unreal automatically inserts a get actor location node when you try to connect an actor reference to a vector input. Steps to do this in C++. Create a custom schema for blueprint graphs. Extend the UED graph schema K2 to modify the connection behavior. Override can create connection. Inside of this function, detect when an actor reference is connected to an vector. Modify the connection to logic to spawn in the UK2 node call function that calls the actor get actor location. Yes, please, I would like a step-by-step guide, because if it's that easy, I'm just going to do it right now, honestly. Let's see, let's just action RPG project. We want to make a new Unreal class, and it'll be, I'm going to call it just my blueprint schema. PD graph schema K2. Yeah, add them to kit, I don't care. Doesn't throw any errors yet, so that's probably good. Generate a definition. There's a lot going on here, hold on. Let's just... This doesn't call the super... Oh, it calls it at the end. That's fair. Okay, something's going wrong here, but that's the only place that anything is going wrong. And what is going wrong? Cannot resolve symbol. That kind of makes sense. That's probably because I'm lacking some includes. It's not using any of these. Okay, sure. Detect if actor This is how I use ChatGPT, by the way. Just like throw in the errors can't be resolved. Okay, let's copy that over. And it figured it out. Don't need any of these. Now, I did need to register it somewhere, I believe. In your project build, that makes sense. We need in the public dependency model modules. We now also need blueprint graph. Okay, let's make sure everything we have in our actual project is saved, and then recompile. See if that does the thing. Because if that does the thing, that's gonna make me so fucking happy. To the point where I will just copy that code and literally just export that into a plugin. I can't compile when live coding is active because, yeah, that makes sense. It still thinks live coding is active, so I just need to wait a second. Once this works, I will go back and like reverse engineer what it actually is doing, so that I actually understand it as well. But this is how I learn. Like, this is why AI is really quite nice, because it speeds up learning so much. Obviously, like 90% of people do this and then don't go back and read what they just generated to like understand what's happening and learn what that code actually does, in which case you're fucking yourself long term. But without like AI, this would have taken so much longer to figure out. So if I put this into there, yeah, okay, so that still doesn't work actually. That's probably because it's not a normal actor ref. Maybe. No, it just doesn't work. Okay. It does not. So let's see if there's anything that I fucked up. Okay, so this is just checking whether or not both pins are valid. I guess sometimes a pin might not be valid because it's got like destroyed in the meantime or whatever. Identify which pin is which. So it makes two pointers to those pins, and then it just tries to see, hey, is A, so that's the two inputs we have here. Is that an actor static class? If so, we set actor pin to being the A input. Else we check whether or not the B input is that, and we set actor pin B. We do the same thing for these vectors. And if we detect both a vector and an actor pin, it does this stuff. So that all makes sense, and nothing here is erroring out. So I wonder why it's not working. There's only... Hold on. We need to insert one more thing, because this... no, I think it's hallucinating. Because it's suddenly changing... Additional step, define how to insert get actor location. So the can create connection. It only thinks that that is a bool. So that doesn't really quite add up, does it? Let's regenerate that last one. Can we? I thought there was a thing that you could do with ChatGPT, but maybe they changed that. Ah, okay. I found it. So it's still doing the same thing. But now it's adding a bunch of extra nodes. Or a bunch of extra lines. So I'm just going to copy this over. Again, blueprint graph. Oh, set the schema for blueprint graph. So in your game mode base, or whatever you handle your editor settings, set your schema as the defaults. U blueprint pointer equals blueprint get blueprint. If blueprint category that doesn't, I don't think that makes sense either. It makes sense that we need to point to setting this custom blueprint schema. I'm going to just Google for that. Unreal set custom blueprint schema C++. I don't think most people even learned in the language soldiers 5 coding. I mean, kind of. And that's like a bit of an issue. To a certain extent. Kind of depends on like how deep you want to get into it and how complex of a thing you want to make. Just going to Google specifically are pins compatible. I guess we need to set that as well then, eh? I'm gonna go ahead and say that maybe this is not worth looking into right now because it seems to be a little bit more complex than I gave it credit for initially. Here we have the documentation page for the thing that I'm looking at right now. Add specific flags to the function entry node to the graph to make sure that they compare to generate. Yeah, holy hell. So So we have auto wire conversion now. It tries to connect two pins with matching types and direction from the conversion node to the specified in and output. So this is probably what we want. What is the thing that we're using called? Can create connection. Yeah, so that's just F-pin connection response. I think you just make this up. To be honest with you. No, it does exist. No, it doesn't. You just fucking make this up. Oh no, it does exist. So let's see what it says about that function then. Can create connection. Nothing. Fantastic. I'm going to just go back all the way up to the top and see if ChatGPT will generate a different answer. Yeah, so it does something entirely different now. Now it's trying to use try create connection. So we have try create connection. Blueprint editor utility, which that doesn't seem like. Now you need to tell Unreal to use your custom schema for your blueprints to create a new My Graph Factory. Implementation, register the schema in the editor module. Yeah, so for that, okay, so you effectively like would have to make this into its own module anyway, because it needs to be registered with the engine. That makes sense. Not doing that right now, but that might be a fun little project over the weekend. For now, we're going to take these two files and just yeet them. I'll figure this out later. But let's see, it said something about editor utility as well, so maybe we can make a thing with that. Yeah, it's not even suggesting that anymore when I regenerate it now. So yeah, now, okay. All that to not have to do this. Sometimes you try to over-engineer things, right? I was just thinking that it would make a very neat little like video thumbnail, like I made a fix to Unreal's mouse annoying problem or something like that. Because I feel like a lot of people would be able to like use this. It would be really nice to be able to do that. I also don't understand why that's just not a built-in feature, because, like, obviously when you drag an actor into a vector, like 99% of the time you're going to want to use its location, right? Anyway, what we were doing? Oh yeah, get target. You see, again, very much would be nice to be able to do this, but now I need to do like this, and this, and this, and it's like 4 mouse clicks. Which is just so much. Fucking loud-ass kids. Okay, so there's one tiny little issue with what I was planning to do. I was planning to, well, not distance. I was planning to get the distance between these two absolute values, but there's the issue with, like, rotating over the 360 line. So maybe does this have a distance of its own? No. Unreal. Get difference between rotators. Delta rotator. Delta for rotators. Okay, that gets you the delta for the X, Y, and Z independently, I would assume. So we only care about the delta for the yaw. So if that is less than, let's say, 10 degrees, we finish task. And that's all that this needs to do, because we had a bit of a side tangent, so let me recap what we were actually doing. I want to check, looking for a target, when am I looking at my target, so that I can move on to the next task down the list. So, task, wait for unlock onto target. When that is finished, we want to move on to the next, not child states, no, to the sibling states, which is shoot, which is just do a gameplay ability. In this case, that would be shoot. Shoot shots. Is it just shoot shot? I don't think it's just shoot shot. I think it's something like tank shoot or something. Tank shoot basic shot. Tank shot basic, same thing. Once that is complete, we will go into yet another sibling state, which is waiting. Which has a delay task on it, obviously. Let's say 2 seconds. Let's say 1 second with a, no, 3 seconds with a 1 second random deviation. Function you're looking for might exist on a parent class. What function are we talking about? Are we still talking about like the actor to vector thing? Because that's just not something Unreal does, but I think it should do. I'll figure it out, I'm sure. It's like not the most important thing by any means. Yeah, so that pretty much should make the tank work now, I think. Yeah, I should just remove that class. Okay. Yeah, something is a bit messed up. I think, yeah, something didn't quite work. I wonder why. Does it technically like restart this? a bunch of times? Or what's going on? Yeah, it does. Well, that's annoying. Oh, it's because look for target goes back to root. Yeah, no, it definitely should not be doing that. Hold on. Should go to next state, and they should also go to next state. That's what we call user error. But there we go. We have 1, 2, and impossible to dodge because the wait, how is it hitting me that fast? Also, because it's hitting what? That doesn't make any sense. What's happening? Because it's supposed to be like this big. I also don't know what's going on with any of these fucking shaders, man. Refusing to compile. So yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but I'm guessing that these are just spawning in like way too fucking big. Like begin play. Get world scale. Nope. Well, just get scale. Get actor scale. 3D. When it spawns these in, how big are they? 1, 1, 1. Oh, it's because it only spawned in the one. That makes sense. Yeah, it spawns them in at 71 times the scale. Holy shit. Yeah, how about we don't do that? That seems like insane. Why would it take this transform and put it at 71 times scale? What the fuck? Anyway. Just split this and just use the rotation and location instead. Just scale 1, 1, 1, please. That'll do plenty. Yeah, so there we go. For some reason it stopped rotating. Oh, because it's technically dead. But it doesn't have a death animation, so it doesn't actually like die. That's solvable though, that's solvable. We can just give it some starting data. We're going to do the thing that we always do. Enemy attribute set. I'm just going to give him the basic demon data for now. Yeah, this is using the gameplay ability system. So yeah, it does do all that. The only thing that it doesn't do is properly display the HP bar, and I don't know why. I assume I just haven't set up the widget for it. So let's just go BP basic. Dude, what the fuck? Why? Okay. Sure. Sometimes that just happens. Sometimes shit's weird. Project getting up there, man. Recompiling takes a moment. Imagine how much longer it's going to take every time you recompile once the game is like near finished. It's going to be a nightmare. Okay, so what did we lose there? Do you still have your default sorting data? You do not. Enemy attribute sets. There you say demon. Why do you crash? Oh, it's my item thumbnail renderer. Oh, that's actually a thing that okay, so I actually messed something up with that. Probably like didn't put in a proper check somewhere. We can fix that. It's actually my bad. Item thumbnail renderer, I think it was like line 26 or something, right? Yeah. Assertions failed in texture. We don't. Well, that's fucked. So I guess it's... Yeah, I did see the... it's live right now, right? The premiere for that video, where they're adding like new templates. Would be nice if one of the templates is 2D, because I literally just made a short about Unreal 2D, and I literally like a couple of months ago did an entire like 2D course. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, it's still live, yeah. For 2D, so if people are like, oh, you can do 2D, it's probably good that they'll find my stuff. Why do you do the thing where you crash? I guess I might as well just like, I don't know what actually the issue is, but I guess we want to like check if object and canvas are valid. This live stream is all over the place, man. We're supposed to be working on the tank AI, and I got sidetracked doing like blueprint graph, automation stuff, and then so much bullshit happening everywhere. Now I'm fixing issues with my inventory rendering thing. I just go into my items, item assets, base items. Like all of these just work. So if I now, I guess this is the thing that was fucking up before, trying to render this image. But it seems like it's no longer fucking up. So that's good. Now, in your HP bar, we have a few things that we need to change, right? Widget class needs to be enemy HP and it needs to be in screen space. Where's my block tank? I like this bullshit. It's probably how real production is done. Now straightforward. I mean, it's also just my brain being kind of fried after a couple of weeks of just a lot of bullshit happening. Not even like in the project, just like life's been very busy. So my brain is also working on like 15% capacity or something like that, and it has been for like a hot minute. Things are settled down now. Like I'm back to live streaming and stuff. So it's probably like, it's fine, it's fine. But it doesn't help me maintain focus in any way, shape or form. So that's for free. Well, actually, I should charge you for that information. Can you please like give me money? Because I thought, no, that's obviously a joke. HP bar gets a socket and lock on gets a socket. So let's put sockets HP bar right there. And then I don't know why this skeletal mesh is pink and this skeletal mesh icon is blue. And that kind of worries me. This might just be like a legacy format because it's one of the first ones that I imported like in Unreal 5.1 at the time. I'm supposed to start on a new drone simulator project. Rather you than me, man. That sounds intense. With VR headset with radio controls. My god. Is there any way to comfortably add non-regular controls to Unreal or have them to different controllers? So you probably have to use the raw input plugin, but that's a huge pain in the ass. I think, depending on how your controls work, I think Unreal also has a like way to read like DMX signals or something, right? So if your like control can like output DMX, Unreal should be able to read those in as inputs, which might be, I don't know if that's gonna like work for a drone controller, but that's a thing that you can do. And also in the worst case scenario has support for just like binary serial communication, I think. Although that might be specifically like an Arduino thing. Which might be an external plugin. I don't know. I know it handles DMX, and there's also raw input, but that is, it's Windows only, first and foremost. But that's probably not an issue. But that's used for things like flight sticks and steering wheels and non-X input supported devices in general. But for that, you need like the manufacturing like serial number and stuff like that, because it needs to only pick up on that specific like type of input, because of course it's raw input, so it sends through like, hey, I am this device from this manufacturer with like this serial, and I'm sending through this information. So it needs to know all that to be able to differentiate between different inputs. I tried to use this to set up PlayStation controller input, and it's a huge fucking headache. But it's possible. Using X controller simulation software to bypass it. Yeah, so that's probably easier. That's what I do to use my DualSense to test my own game. So, but in July there's going to be a demonstration. I would like it to be as non-Unreal Engine software as possible. Yeah. If you can get raw input to work, that might be nice. But you would need to like be able to figure out the like the serial numbers and stuff, which I think you can if you just, like if you can plug it into Windows in like device properties. It does show you those. I don't remember the details, so you'd have to like Google those, how to figure that out. But that is like readable information, because obviously, like the device is sending it to whatever application you made in Unreal for it. So like the device just sends that through to Windows, so Windows can also read that number. I just don't remember where. Anyhow, the HP bot. Is he killing himself? He's killing himself. Oh, that's fucked. Why is the HP bar not working? I use simple control, it's cheap, and that's actually pretty good to know, because I do want like DualSense controllers to natively work with the game. So I might go ahead and get that as well. As far as getting two displays at the same moment, one for VR and one need to be a huge display. I don't know about VR. That's kind of that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure how you would set that up. Because obviously if it was just a normal screen, you could just like use Windows to like screen mirror, right? But I don't think you're able to do that with like a VR headset. Most VR games, when you run them, do also have like a 2D, just like flat monitor, like screen that it like pops up on your monitor, which you won't see usually because you'll have your VR headset on. But I do know that, so it is a thing that can be done. I just don't know. I just kind of assumed that it would do that automatically, to be honest with you. I think it does do that automatically, because I did make like a VR game at some point, to like years ago, to mess around with that, and I think VR. Yeah, I did get footage of it, which I definitely didn't record. Well, I don't know definitely, but I don't think I recorded that in headset. And I made it in Unreal, so presumably it just like popped up a mirror screen on my PC when I was running it. But that might be the issue. I mean, I am running it from from the PC. I don't know if you're trying to run it out of like a Quest, like internally, for instance. I don't know how you would do that necessarily. In that case, because, well, I'm guessing you're not doing that because at that point it would be an entire like own device and getting like stuff off of that. I don't know, maybe there's like some kind of A-Link streaming that you could do. I'm pretty sure that Unreal has like some built-in stuff for that. For like mirroring to like another window. I mean, it looks kind of weird because you'll have like the VR headset like roll and yaw and well, the yaw makes sense, but the tilt. So it'll be like a very shaky cam for the person watching it on a 2D screen. So if you can like make a different camera to render that, but you're already rendering two cameras if you're doing something in VR, which is like relatively expensive. So adding like a full resolution third camera might be a bit of a big ask, but I don't know for sure. Either way, if you're going to be doing that, I would assume that you do need to like dive pretty deep into the C++ to like make it render to like separate images to two separate windows. Stemming from like the same program, right? That's probably something that's like embedded pretty deep, I would imagine. But in the end, I also just, I'm not sure. Never really like looked into anything that specific. And again, it's I made this video in March of 2022. So like technically that Scala Slicer game is still up on itch.io, I think. It's really bad. But I was just messing around a little bit with VR. Had some fun. But at this point, that's like fucking 3 years ago, man. Holy hell. Anyway, I was doing a thing, I believe, right? So yeah, this is the issue. Well, it's one of the issues. There's also the issue that the thing wasn't at the right place. Scale just needs to be 111. So why doesn't it pop up at the right place? Because we have the HP bar. VR is a lot of fun though. I wish I had like any good ideas that are like actually fun to play with. And also like a living space or a playing space rather to test VR out and play VR in general, because I don't really have like a lot of space where I live. Where's my block tank? There's my block tank. Yeah, so this is just supposed, like, that's supposed to do that, right? Oh, did I not make, no, I did make it an enemy. Well, let's save everything and... Why is it still all the way down there? So fucking weird, man. The lock-on is in the right place now. Why is the HP bar not? D&D VR. I mean, that could be fun. Issue is I don't have friends, so... Um, let's check out the enemy HP bar stuff. Presumably that would be in begin play. No, do I just not use a socket for that? Oh, I just need to like physically, okay, sure. There we go. It does seem to like immediately die, which is kind of weird. It's probably because it's shooting itself. No, it's not shooting itself. I've had this issue before. What happened? What happened with that? I don't remember. There's something that causes that. I don't remember the like exact detail. Yeah, so he's technically like dead now. I guess we have like a on death event dispatcher, right? On destroyed. I might not have on death. On enemy defeated. There we go. Movement vector gets forced to 0. And I guess in this case, I guess we just also, we might as well just like stop the state tree, right? This might just not be running to begin with, because Lord knows that my code is a mess. Yeah, so that forces them to stop walking, so that's good. Okay. Oh, sorry. So weird bug when it fires while you are in midair. The aim is way off. Is there? Doesn't seem like it. Like it doesn't predict where I'm going. It doesn't have like predictive shooting, which it probably should. But it seemed pretty good. Like it makes no sense that he can shoot upward while not having like any upward angle to himself, obviously. But it seems pretty good. Definitely should make the bullet a little bit more intelligent though, with being able to when it hits you and knocks you back. Shot after is way off. Don't seem like it. And it doesn't really shoot like quickly enough in a row for him to like shoot me while I'm still like in knockback. It's just like when I'm very close to him, the angle gets like pretty steep. So that might be what you're seeing. After 3 times in a row before you added the BP. I didn't see it, and I didn't really add anything to do with that, so I don't think there's an issue there, to be honest. Bullet's going to need to be replaced anyway. This is just the bullet that the spider uses anyway. What I can imagine is if he shoots while I'm like jumping over him, it might be like a weird angle because it's like halfway shooting up and halfway like shooting back and whatever. So maybe something like that happened. I don't know. I have a short somewhere with the math for like predictive shooting. But I'm not going to look that up right now because I don't feel like it, to be honest with you. Just got a... Oh, I blocked someone instead of banning them on Twitch. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the basic setup for this guy, I think. It's going to be fairly like straightforward and simple for the most part. It's just like this. Maybe I'll add like 2 or 3 different types of shots that he can do. And he needs to be able to die, of course. Oh yeah, and he needs to like not get reset back to 0 health at the start of the game. I don't know why that is happening. Does it happen with this dude as well? Yeah, no, he is fine. He is entirely fine. He doesn't even have a begin play. So what the fuck is up with that? Is that something in the parents begin play? Doubt it. Yeah. Holy shit! Yeah, the parents begin play runs getting target. That makes sense. Maybe add a tremor as it moves to show how heavy it is. So I was planning on having him move fairly slowly, so that would actually kind of be cool to have like a camera shake every time he like steps down. And we can do that like locally, right? So it only does that when you're close to him. At the speed which he moves now, with his like feet going up and down, I don't know 1,000% if I want to do that. And I do like this speed at which his feet move now, because in the last stream we did, we actually figured out that with the slower moving feet, when he stops moving, even with blending to an idle pose, it kind of feels like he like snaps back to the idle pose, which it didn't look very good. But because the feet are already moving so quickly now, when he gets to his idle pose, it feels fairly natural. So I actually kind of want to keep him moving at like this speed. But maybe I can add some like particle effect or something at the bottom of his feet when he moves. That might be kind of cool. Maybe make an elite version of it, which is like 4 times bigger. Yeah, I already have, like, in some places in the game, I just put a bigger version of an existing enemy with a bunch more HP. And sometimes maybe slightly different AI if I can bother. As like a mini boss type of deal. Plus 3 more cannons at all sides. I mean, that might be kind of nice. Also going to be a huge pain in the ass with how I have him set up, because I would need to effectively like remodel the middle part, but I retexture it and like unwrap everything or whatever. Or I can just like be lazy and, well, we have this line shader anyway, so like any seams that get created by just like adding in extra meshes will get covered up anyway, so I can just kind of like add in a couple of extra meshes and that should be good. That might be a thing that I can do. That might be doable. The only issue is like the 4 different cannons don't actually like do anything, right? Because it's already like always trying to aim at you, and I can only aim at you with 1 of the cannons at a time. Unless I want every single one of those cannons to be its own like unique type of like power and ability, but at that point it's starting to like turn into like, well, a proper mini boss with like its own behavior and stuff like that. And this is exactly what I mean when I say to people who are like, hey, do you have any tips for game development? When I say stay small with your IDs, because even your small IDs are going to creep up in scope and scale and whatever, because we start with like this one little enemy, and we have this ID which is a lot of fun and very good. But then, okay, so that just added like another week of work. And if that happened with every ID, suddenly like you're developing for like 2 more years, which is exactly why every indie game under the sun always gets its release date like pushed back 5 times, because this is what happens when you get creative, is you have good IDs and then you're like, but it turns out good IDs actually take time to make. Yeah, the idea is it has no blind spot, but it's slower. Yeah, so at that point I would need to be aware of which of the cannons is closest to the player at any given time, which I guess wouldn't be that difficult to figure out, and then make it rotate that one toward the player. So there's like there's a little bit extra to it. Which might be fun to like look back at doing sometime in the future, but for like the time being, definitely like need to get a move on. Yeah, so I'll make some kind of specific like projectile. I need to make more specific projectiles. I was looking into his HP situation, because that's not doing what it should be doing. I don't know why. Because it's the exact same setup that I have here, right? Or do I have... Yeah, enemy attribute set to both base enemies. So what's the difference? Why does it do what it does? I wish you could easily just like put these side by side. I mean, you can, but I'll just cover up my chat for a moment. These should be identical in behavior because they're identical in given values. Let's give them different attribute set thingy. Yeah, so that works. The other one didn't. Oh, I think I just gave it a old one with the wrong names in it. So if I just like actually copy paste the exact same asset over that I use in a daemon. Yeah, there we go. So I just used an old one that I probably should like actually just delete. And he has a shit ton of HP probably. Also, we need to, for some reason, not have this guy be visible in game. I don't know why it is. Doesn't make a lot of sense. We also need to go into this guy and set your collision responses to ignore the camera because it's really annoying when your camera like spaces the fuck out because it's up against an enemy. It's totally okay that enemies block your view a little. So yeah. That makes sense. We also need to do that for the capsule component itself. Because for some reason the capsule component also interacts with the camera, even though it's not visible. I guess that's why we have separate visibility in camera channels though. Makes sense. But now we can do all this and it looks a bit better and all that stuff. So yeah, lock on. It's a little iffy with how it can like curveball me a bit too much, I think. It should also have more of a warning. And a death animation, obviously, because right now when he dies, he just kind of like hangs out. But so there's two things to that. Number one is this look for target. I think just needs to take into like account the distance as well a little bit. So this should then be like a lerp. Distance. Inverse lerp isn't like inverse lerp. Inverse lerp used to be a thing in Blueprint and they just fucking took it out. It still is a function that just straight up exists in C++. If I just go like fmath Is it? I thought it was math. Oh, maybe not. Is it Bilurb? Or maybe it just got taken out of the math library, and that's why it's gone. Anyway, it's a pretty simple like piece of math. I just always need to remind myself of what it is like. And we really kind of need it right now. So let's inverse word math. I mean, it's effectively just literal floats. So let's say that at like 250 units, it's the closest, and then at 1500 units is the furthest away. Now we just need to check where this is between those values, and then clamp it between 0 and 1. Oh, do we have a remap? Nope. Okay, so t is equal to x minus a. X is the input value, so that's x minus a divided by b minus a. Okay, so when we are super close, I want the trigger range to be within 5 degrees, and otherwise it should be within 15 degrees. I effectively just want to like make a view cone. A very, very simplified view cone. So that if I'm like right here, it only shoots at me if I'm like super straight on. Still doesn't quite do that the way that I wanted to. So that kind of implies that the issue might not be... Oh, I guess... Yeah, this is not within like 15 degrees either way anyway. So like something is just fucking up to begin with. Let's print this value every frame real quick. Just to see whether or not... Yeah, so that... Oh, needs to be clamped. That, yeah, it needs to be clamped. That makes sense. So that actually does seem to more or less be working. I guess just 5 degrees is still too tight. So this literally should just be within like 1 degree. When we're that close up. Oh, and then it maybe should also clamp. Like only if it is actually like straight up looking right at us. Should it be able to shoot us when we're that close? Something is kind of fucked about it, man. I think what we need to do is we need it to look at you for more than one tick in that that amount. So what we do is we set a delay for, let's say, 0.2 seconds. That seems about fair. And then we just do the same check again. And if it's still true after 0.2 seconds, then we finish the task. So that way it's a little less trigger happy, maybe. If it's just like seeing you momentarily, it needs to like stay on you for 0.2 seconds. I'm literally at the opposite side of you. Oh, the clamping thing. The clamping thing. How can it even... How does it even make sense? Oh, I guess if I'm under... Yeah, no. Okay, that does make sense. I need to clamp this. Because if I'm within under 250, it starts going into the negatives at like this linear rate. So that is why. This seems a little bit more reasonable now. Kind of. That's not within 1 degree, man. I think I'm just misunderstanding this rotation delta, what that's doing, maybe? Oh, that seems pretty much... Oh... It can go into the negative. That's probably why it's doing weird stuff. Because it has directionality to it as well. I guess we just make this absolute. And that should fix that. Hopefully. Because if it's absolute, it's not going to be under 1. When it's like negative 40. And now the fact that it needs to look at you for 0.2 seconds is a little like overkill. I still think that it's a nice thing to do, but let's make it like a 20th of a second instead of a 5th. You technically have the idea that if you like cross back within that 20th of a second, but you effectively would never, right? Because that's like 3 frames if you're playing at 60 FPS. But yeah, I think adding in those little particle systems to spawn under his feet would be kind of cool. But those are some polishing things that we'll do in like 12.5 years, maybe. So, yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. So thanks everybody for hanging in and joining out. Fuck, my brain is absolutely cooked, man. I'll be back on Tuesday. For now, we effectively have this dude finished. I'll add in like a quick death animation for him. It's super easy. It's just going to be like maybe shaking the body a little bit, maybe making the legs fall over, and then just have like an event in it that says, hey, I'm dead now, which will get rid of him. So next Tuesday, what I'm thinking we might do is I finished up this dude. It's, again, I said in my Discord, it's definitely not my best work ever. I'll be the first to admit, but we'll actually like go over to like the high-res version. Looks a little bit better. I will probably have him unwrapped by then. I don't have him unwrapped yet, but I'll probably unwrap him before that. And we'll maybe like go ahead and texture him or rig him if he isn't unwrapped yet, depending on how much I feel like doing that or not. So we'll probably finish up with this dude next time, which will be a lot of fun. But until then, it's been a good one. See you guys later.